in North Carolina.
Our Steve Sprazio is live with the breaking details. Steve.
All right, I want you to take a listen to what we're looking at right now. You're looking at Chad Biggs and Chris Creech. They are the first same-sex couple here in Wake County that are going to be married here by the Chief Magistrate, Dexter Williams. That's the fella in the black robe over there. This has been a day of ups and downs for these guys because they came in around noontime today, a number of same-sex couples. They wanted to try and get married. They thought it was going to happen by 5 o'clock. They thought it was not going to happen because a judge in Greensboro was going to take more arguments in the case. But then with 2 minutes to go before the court closed at 5:30, a judge in Charlotte ruled that the ban on marriage was unconstitutional. Some of the folks who were still left, most left in disappointment, some of the folks who were still left ended up here. And what they did is they got a chance to be married. Let's listen in for just a moment as Dexter Williams actually marries the couple.
Chad, what are you doing here today?
There's so many people here just not to be intimate. I'm here today to promise and share the rest of my life with this man and be very happy to be his partner in life and be able to say that I'm his husband now. To raise our daughter that is 12 years old. She means the world to us both. And put this on paper.
And Chad, is there any legal reason that you cannot be married today?
There is no legal reason that we cannot be married today.
Chris, what are you doing here today?
I'm here to commit my life to him and our little girl. And that's it.
Is there any legal reason, Chris, that you can't be married today?
No.
A long time for this day to come. They waited in line all day.
Now let me ask you this: are y'all going to exchange rings today?
Fortunately, for a long time, we've had readings.
How about that?
A little unorthodox.
We are gathered here today to join Chad and Chris in marriage according to the laws of the state of North Carolina. Marriage is designed for the happiness and welfare of mankind, and thereto to be entered into advisedly and discreetly and with good faith. Do you, Chris, take this man to be your lawfully wedded spouse?
I do.
Do you, Chad, take this man to be your lawfully wedded spouse?
I do.
Chris, will you place the ring on Chad's finger? And will you repeat after me? I give you this ring.
I give you this ring.
As a token and pledge.
As a token and pledge.
Of my constant faith.
Of my constant faith.
And abiding love.
And abiding love.
Chad, you place the ring on Chris's finger. And will you repeat after me? I give you this ring.
I give you this ring.
As a token and pledge.
As a token and pledge.
Of my constant faith.
Of my constant faith.
And abiding love.
And abiding love.
Will you join both hands and face each other? Chris and Chad, by the powers vested in me by the state of North Carolina, I now pronounce you married. You may kiss.
Sharon, Sean, we're looking at what is basically a very historic moment here in Wake County. The very first couple to get married in Wake County, I should say the very first same-sex couple to get married here in Wake County, and they already have a wedding gift because Chad happens to work for a wedding planning firm, and they sent a cake over here this afternoon at 4:30 in the evening. At 4:30 in the afternoon, they thought that cake was not going to be consumed, and then turns out the cake ended up being consumed because now they are the first couple to be married here in Wake County. We'll have more later. We'll have more later at 7. Reporting live, I'm Steve Sprazier, WNCN News.
All right, Steve, thank you for that look. That's right, about 6:02, we had the first same-sex marriage here in Wake County. You could hear their voices breaking as they talked about their 12-year-old daughter during their exchange of vows. Now, you heard Steve mention that one of the couple, a member of the couple, works with a wedding planning firm. So let's dig deeper into the impact that gay marriage will have now in North Carolina. The Williams Institute at UCLA predicts 9,100 same-sex couples would get married in our state within the first 3 years. That would lead to $64 million in wedding arrangements, as well as tourism to our state, as well as the local economies. And $41 million of that would happen in the first year alone. The Institute says same-sex marriage would create up to 646 tourism jobs.
All right, let's go back to Steve Sprazier, who is live out of the Wake County Courthouse, where the first same-sex marriage in Wake County took place here October 10th at 6:02. You saw it live right here on WNCN News at 6 o'clock. Steve, take us back to that moment when the announcement was made that same-sex marriages were legal in the state of North Carolina. Tell us about the reactions of the people standing there in line.
Well, there were no people standing in line. Here's what happened. About 4:30 in the evening, they got word that the judge in Greensboro was going to take more arguments up until Monday, up until 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Everybody thought at that point it was a done deal. Nothing was going to happen. They went outside the courthouse. They held a little prayer vigil. They held a little rally. And most of the couples, their supporters, families, and friends all left. Everybody walked away. Now, Chad, because he also happens to work here at the Wake County Courthouse, happened to stick around. He was actually taking the wedding cake out. At 5:28, they got word that a judge in Charlotte had ruled the ban unconstitutional. The courthouse said that they would stay open until 5:30. So Chad ran back inside along with his partner, and there were a couple of other folks who were still milling around. They ran back inside. So there was no great hurrah, hey, this is happening. What happened was it caught everybody by surprise, not only them, but also us. So it was one of these deals where everybody was just taken by surprise, and that's why you don't see a huge crowd here. There had been maybe 70 or 80 people, about 10 couples that were going to be married, as well as their friends and supporters. All have been staying at the courthouse here throughout the afternoon, but instead what happened was they all went home. So maybe they are being caught by surprise too as they see this broadcast and find out that now same-sex marriages are legal here in North Carolina, and the first marriage has already happened.
Steve, as you mentioned, the courthouse generally would be closed at this hour, but obviously they stayed open a little bit later to have this historic marriage between Chris and Chad today. Are they going to stay open a little longer to perform more marriages?
What we were told was that the courthouse would stay open earlier this afternoon. They would stay open till 5:30, and anybody who was still in line at 5:30, they would accommodate them and make sure that they got their certificates, they got their marriage licenses, all the paperwork they needed, and then if they chose to do a judicial ceremony, courtrooms would be provided here. So yeah, they did stay open, and it really happened at the last second. The Register of Deeds came out about 5 o'clock and said, look, we'll stay open till 5:30 just in case, but we do not anticipate anything happening till Monday at the earliest. So again, everybody was caught tremendously by surprise.
And Steve, as we talk to you, we can kind of see the picture pixelating. We want to tell the folks at home that you're on a signal, a cell signal. Obviously a lot of people on their cell phones right now in that area. And if you go on Twitter, you can see the hashtag #DayOneNC, which is celebrating the first day for same-sex marriage here in our state. What has been the mood in that room? You say everyone was taken by surprise. Obviously, we saw with Chad and Chris, they had their loved ones there surrounding them. Are people filing back in? Is it an elated atmosphere in there tonight?
Well, let me just take a quick look out the hallway here and see. All I can see is Chad and Chris right now. I do not see anybody else. I do know on the other side of those counters over there are another couple of couples that are actually picking up their marriage licenses right now. The mood, when we talked to Chad, he was just ecstatic because they all thought this was it. It was done. It was a done deal. They were going to have to wait a little bit longer. In fact, we talked to one woman and her partner. They had been partners for 7 years, and she literally was crying knowing that it wasn't wasn't going to happen today, or believing that it wasn't going to happen today. She said it's just not fair. We are good people. We need to be treated just like every other person. They were hurt. They were stunned. They were disappointed because they had anticipated by 2 or 3 this afternoon the marriages would be taking place. So when it turned around like that, as Chris told me when I asked him, I said, "What's going through your heart right now?" He said, "I feel like I'm on diabetes. I was up, I was down, I was back up again." He said it was like the sugar rush, then I dropped in a sugar rush again. So he said it's one of these deals where they didn't know it was going to happen as quickly as it did. It was a big surprise to everybody, and obviously to the couple that ended up getting married too.
All right, our Steve Sprager reporting live tonight, a historic night at the Wake County Courthouse, where we just witnessed on WNCN a little after 6 o'clock this evening the first same-sex couple to be married in Wake County, Chad and Chris, and you could hear it in their voices when they talked about their 12-year-old daughter during their vows, their voices breaking, so much love and so much anticipation in a moment that is years in the making for them and many others in our state.
Right, and as Steve had mentioned, the courthouse is closing at 5:30. So at that point, a lot of the people who were standing in line were already leaving, thinking this was over. We're going to have to wait until Monday. And then that last-minute decision came in, and Kristen and Chad were there at that moment to go back inside and be the first to get married. So definitely historic moment in the making here, long time in the making. So congratulations to those who can now have the same-sex marriage licenses and move forward from here.
Live from the Triangle, this is WNCN News at 7.
By the powers vested in me by the state of North Carolina, I now pronounce you married. You may kiss.
We begin tonight with breaking news, a historic ruling that North Carolina's ban on gay marriage is unconstitutional. Good evening. I'm Sharon Taswell.
And I'm Sean Murray. Thanks for joining us. You just saw the first same-sex marriage taking place in Wake County, and they're still going on. Our Steve Sprager is live with the breaking details. Steve.
We're here where they issue the marriage licenses in the Wake County Courthouse. You can see there are a number of people lined up right now going through the paperwork process to get their marriage licenses. This was like a last-minute sporting event that ended at the last second with a winning score. Literally with 2 minutes to go before this office was ready to close, a judge in Charlotte ruled that the marriage ban in North Carolina was unconstitutional. Most of the folks who have been standing here in the courthouse early in the day left. They left in disappointment, but one lucky couple was still here. They ended up getting married. Let's take a look at that ceremony. Chad Biggs and Chris Creech were married, the very first same-sex couple to be married here in Wake County, perhaps even in North Carolina. It happened shortly before 6 o'clock this evening when they were married by Dexter Williams, who was the magistrate here in Wake County. It was a moment that really both of them said was the best moment of their lives.
It's been a long day coming, and it's great.
And I want to thank the judge. You don't know how much you affected everybody's life today. And I want to make sure that he knows that this was greatly appreciated, and I know that he took the time and the care to review everything as he should have, and came to this decision, and we are most appreciative.
Did you expect this ruling?
No, we did not. I think everyone here, I think everyone here did not expect this to happen tonight.
They certainly did not expect it to happen, and a lot of folks didn't expect it to happen. Many folks left the courthouse in disappointment, including Carl Matthews. You and your blended family were walking away. I remember taking some video, which I put on Twitter, of the family walking away. The sign said, "I love my daddies." You were crushed with disappointment. You're back here now. Carl, tell us about that.
Well, I guess I'm reminding of the old hymn called "We've Come This Far by Faith." And so we left here knowing that if we continue to depend on our faith in God as Christians, then this would happen. We just didn't think it was going to happen this quickly. So,
what were you guys doing?
We were actually sitting down to dinner, and Larry received a phone call from a photographer and said, "It's happening." And I said, "No, it's not happening," and it is happening. So,
well, we would be remiss if we didn't ask you to introduce the entire family here for us. So tell us who we're looking at.
This is our son Carlos, our daughter Alicia, Isaiah, the little one, who is 2 years old, and Larry.
And Larry, let's talk to you for a quick moment. This is something you've been waiting for years. It's happening. What's in your heart right now?
It's surprising that this actually happened here in this great state that we all live in now. So it was true. We were at dinner, and I picked up my phone, and I was like, this can't be right. And I had him listen to the message to make sure we both heard the same thing. We're like, let's get in the car and head back.
And now that you guys are married, you're an official family. What's the first thing you're going to do? I mean, you're going to get married here, but then what after that? What's the next step?
I don't know yet. We hadn't thought that far ahead yet.
At one point, will you guys have a more formal ceremony, inviting friends and relatives and all that?
We will. But the important thing is we're together, and as I look at my beautiful family, I just fell in love all over again. I met so many wonderful people here, and there's love that has carried this group to the point today. So
that's right. There were a lot of folks here who had never met each other until they showed up at the courthouse and stood for hours and hours waiting for something to happen.
That's right. And, you know, it's nice to look out now and see some of the people coming back that we stood in line with this afternoon.
There's forever a connection now, forever a bond with all these wonderful people. So
I thank you both very much. I don't want to take up too much of your time because you do have a marriage ceremony to go through. And you can see, if we take another look at the marriage license and notary counter right now, you'll be able to take a look and see that there are still a lot of people coming in. Wake County has said they're going to stay open until 9 o'clock this evening to accommodate all the same-sex couples who want to try and get married today, and more couples are coming in right now. Obviously, it's more like a festive atmosphere here than one of a funeral, which it was earlier this evening, about 5:30 or so, as folks walked away in really bitter disappointment, realizing that they were not going to get a chance to get married this day. Turned out not to be the case whatsoever. Sean, Sharon?
And Steve, you've been there all day. You've seen the lines of people waiting outside. And now, as you said, it was like a last-minute sporting event. Are you seeing people rush in there to get their licenses before 9 this evening where you are?
Well, there's not necessarily a rush. We're not seeing people running at full tilt, running into the building, but more coming in drips and drabs as the word is filtering out. But again, most folks went home, which you heard Carl say. They were sitting down to dinner. They thought that it was gone, it was done for the day. Maybe they would come back on Monday if a judge ruled on Monday, or perhaps Tuesday or whatever. And then it turns out that they didn't have to. We're not seeing folks running. They're coming in more in drips and drabs.
All right, our Steve Sprazier reporting live tonight from the Wake County Courthouse. Steve, thank you. And it wasn't all good feelings today. There was disappointment. Here is the response from Republican leaders here in our state. They released this statement about the ruling, saying, quote, in part, "It is disappointing this decision was made without North Carolina's law receiving its day in court, and we will continue to work to ensure the voice of the voters is heard."
Live from the Triangle, this is WNCN News at 7.
We want to check back in with the breaking news we told you about at the top of the newscast. A judge ruling that North Carolina's ban on gay marriage is unconstitutional.
Yeah, we'll go with a live update with our Steve Sprazier, who's live at the Wake County Courthouse. Steve.
Sean and Sharon, there's a real ebb and flow to what's taking place here. Take a look at the marriage counter right now. A few minutes ago when we were live at the top of the show at 7 o'clock, it was filled with people. Now just one couple over there getting their marriage license. It's one of these deals where people are coming and going. Some of the folks who are coming are this couple over here, Carla Gregg. You're from Apex. And tell us about your day. How did all this transpire for you?
Well, today is actually our 5th anniversary. We were married in a religious ceremony in our church 5 years ago today, and so we went and celebrated and had lunch together at the place where we had our reception. And then we went to Durham County Courthouse because that's where we originally got married, was near there. And when they closed around 4:30 or 5 o'clock, there had still been no ruling, and so we were disappointed and went and spent some time with some friends, and then through texts or emails or phone calls found out that thanks to the suit in Western North Carolina that the amendment had been overturned and that Wake County was still open to come and get our marriage license.
Literally, you've been married, but you needed to make it legal.
Right, exactly, yes.
And introduce us to your family here.
Sure, this is my spouse, Lindsay Kearns, and this is our 5-year-old daughter, Mia.
And like all 5-year-olds, she's shy as she can be. You're told to never to talk to strangers, and it's a strange man talking to mommy right now, so we can certainly understand that. Now, you've just gone through the process of getting the paperwork filed. You're going to go to the desk right now. What are your plans? Are you going to go through a civil ceremony here at the courthouse, or are you going to do another religious ceremony outside?
We will have an officiant from our denomination who will be here tonight to do the ceremony for us.
Let's talk a bit about the impact of this this on your family, on the people of North Carolina, and basically what it does for folks.
So for us, it does some small things, like we just got our health re-enrollment forms for the fall, and even though I've been carried, it's been post-tax, and so now that will be able to be post-tax that we get to pay for my insurance with Lindsay, who's a nurse at Duke. But it also means for us, we hope that we will be able to pursue a step-parent adoption for our daughter. Only one of us is the legal parent right now, and so that's really what we're hoping for.
Makes you a unified family. Lindsay, if we could possibly talk to you for just a moment and talk about this whole process that you've had to go through. At one point in 2012, the state of North Carolina passed the marriage amendment, which said marriage is only between a man and a woman. At that point, did you ever think you would see the day when you and your partner would be able to legally marry?
Not this soon, that's for sure. We were, I think, hopeful that it would come at some point, but yeah, kind of stunned that it's happened so quickly this week.
I mean, I used the analogy a bit earlier. It was like a last-minute victory in a sporting event where minutes to go before the courthouse closed, the decision came in. Right. And when you heard that Wake County was still open, did you literally rush down here or what?
Very much so. We said, let's go. It's the time. And like Carla said, today's our 5th wedding anniversary. And so we wanted to just have one anniversary to celebrate today.
What a great wedding present for you guys. What a great anniversary present. Yes. I thank you both for joining us live here this evening, and good luck on your marriage. As you can see, what's happening here in Wake County is a mix of all kinds of different feelings among folks who thought they weren't going to be able to get married in a long foreseeable future, suddenly getting married. Folks who had come here today earlier left with disappointment, also finding out they're able to get married once again. So we've got a lot of different feelings happening here in this room. And as I said to somebody much earlier this afternoon, when all the people were in the courthouse laughing and smiling and joking, anticipating there was going to be some sort of ruling in their favor, you never see this many happy people in a courthouse ever, and now you're seeing them right here now. Reporting live, I'm Steve Sprazier, WNCN News.
Wonderful, Steve. Thank you. We continue to follow breaking news as gay marriage is now legal in the state of North Carolina. History is being made today where Chris Creech and Chad Biggs were the first same-sex marriages to take place here this evening. As you see, they're staying open until 9 o'clock at Wake County Courthouse so people can get their marriage license, and marriages are still continuing to take place throughout the evening.
That's right. This is a live picture right now from the Wake County Courthouse where, as Sharon said, people are lining up to get their marriage licenses. It'll be open until 9 p.m. tonight. We'll have much more on this developing story tonight at 11, as well as online, WNCN.com.
Live from the Triangle, this is WNCN News at 11.
Judge Cogburn has signed an order.
Yeah! I now pronounce you married. You may kiss.
A historic day in North Carolina after a federal judge rules our state's ban on gay marriage is unconstitutional. Good evening, I'm Sean Maroney.
And I'm Sharon Tazwell. Moments after that ruling came down, the Register of Deeds office in Wake County began issuing marriage licenses to same-sex couples. So many people came to get married that the office stayed open until 9 o'clock. WNCN's Jonathan Rodriguez is live outside the courthouse with the latest. Jonathan.
Yeah, good evening, guys. What a busy day of ups and downs. Regardless of which side of this issue you're on, it is truly a day for the history books. North Carolina lifting its ban on same-sex marriage. It was a last-minute call that had this courthouse packed. Just 2 hours ago, people were lined up in this courthouse to make their day in history.
Might not happen today, but I want it to so bad.
They piled into the courthouse and waited and waited and waited.
I was really feeling 1,000% positive, and now I'm starting to kind of feel a little bit scared.
All eyes were on social media, checking for updates on a ruling in Greensboro that would allow these couples to marry. But time was running out.
We've just received word from Judge Osteen not to expect an order today. He wants to hear Monday from the plaintiffs and the Attorney General before ruling on the motion to intervene.
And as for the second case in Charlotte,
likewise, we do not expect an order today from Judge Cogburn.
It's not the news they wanted to hear.
I'm very disappointed. It's very sad. I don't understand the fight. I don't understand that people are people and they should be treated individually.
The crowd left the courthouse.
Still, I'm glad we were here today for for support, but next week.
But one couple stayed and waited, only to make a point. But 2 minutes before the courthouse closed, the ruling from Charlotte came down. Same-sex marriages in North Carolina were legal.
Did you expect this ruling?
No, we did not. I think everyone here, did not expect this to happen tonight.
When they said it, it was surreal. It was, oh my God, did they just say that the judge said it was all good to go?
We are gathered here today to join Chad and Chris in marriage according to the laws of the state of North Carolina. Do you, Chris, take this man to be your lawfully wedded spouse?
I do.
Do you, Chad, take this man to be your lawfully wedded spouse?
I do.
I now pronounce you married. You may kiss.
With that, the courthouse agreed to stay open until 9 o'clock as couples started racing back to lock in their vows, making clear their message to each other and to the entire state.
We're real people with real feelings. I hope we showed that today. We care about each other and we care about you, and it's going to be a better world for it. It's going to be a better world.
You know, it's not every day you see that many happy people in a courthouse, but they're expecting another huge crowd right here when it opens back up next week. More couples ready to make history. For now, we're live in Wake County. Jonathan Rodriguez, WNCN News.
Jonathan, thank you.
The reaction continues tonight from downtown Raleigh. We caught up with folks attending the LGBT Center of Raleigh Gala. One couple had just taken their vows, while another man says he'll get married soon.
First, we were just going to go get the license and then plan the wedding ceremony later. And then we said, let's just do it.
My partner and I have been together for 14 years, and we've waited a long time to get married. So to know that it was suddenly available to us here where we live for the first time was just amazing.
And just minutes after the ruling, same-sex couples began getting married in Asheville.
About 44 people said their I do's at the Buncombe County Register of Deeds office. Crowds have been waiting there all day for the judge's decision. For those in line, today's ruling was a dream come true.
And this was the scene in Guilford County at the Register of Deeds office. The county actually reopened the office after learning of today's decision. A few dozen couples gathered to say their vows. And while many gay and lesbian couples across the state are celebrating tonight, not everyone is happy with today's decision.
WNCN's Mike Gonzalez is live in the studio with a reaction from those who oppose gay marriage. Mike.
Good evening, Sean and Sharon. I spoke with Tammy Fitzgerald tonight, who's the executive director of the North Carolina Values Coalition. That's a conservative group that centers its views on marriage around biblical principles. Fitzgerald told me that she was disappointed by today's ruling. She says the will of the voters in North Carolina is being ignored by the court. In 2012, 60% of voters approved Amendment 1. That's a law that banned gay marriage at the time, but it did not prohibit domestic partnerships. She believes the judge who made same-sex marriage legal today is legislating from the bench with a definite agenda.
Today, over 60% of the voters in North Carolina were disheartened to see how quickly an activist federal judge appointed by Barack Obama and confirmed by Kay Hagan can overturn the will of the people. And although disheartened, we are encouraged to know that the true meaning of marriage, as defined by God, can never really be overturned.
And Fitzgerald says that the Values Coalition plans to expose Kay Hagan in her Senate race with Tom Tillis for appointing those activist liberal judges, as she says. In the meantime, Governor Pat McCrory issued a statement today about the ruling. He says, quote, the administration is moving forward with the execution of the court's ruling and will continue to do so unless otherwise notified by the courts. Each agency will work through the implications of the court's ruling regarding its operations. All right, so what's next for the opposition? Senate President Phil Berger in North Carolina and House Speaker Tom Tillis made last-minute moves to stop the implementation of gay marriage. Today, attorneys for the pair, they filed a legal brief asking Judge William Osteen in Greensboro to allow them to intervene in a pair of cases that he was overseeing. That was supposed to be reviewed on Monday, as you heard Jonathan say, but Judge Max Cogburn, a federal judge in western North Carolina, He beat them to the punch, essentially, and overturned that ban in a different case concerning gay marriage. So in a joint statement tonight, Berger and Tillis, they vowed to continue to fight on for the voters who approved Amendment 1. But at this point, guys, it seems like their fight is all but over, and gay couples in North Carolina can now legally marry. Reporting live in the newsroom, I'm Mike Gonzalez, WNCN News.
Mike, thanks for breaking that down for us. And here's how we got to today's ruling. On Monday, the U.S. Supreme Court decided not to hear appeals on same-sex marriage from 5 states. Now, the Fourth Circuit Court of Appeals ruled Virginia's ban on same-sex marriage unconstitutional. That court also covers our state and also applies to North Carolina's law. Now, on Wednesday, a judge in Charlotte lifted a stay in 2 cases that challenged the state's ban on same-sex marriage. And today, a separate federal judge in Asheville ruled the ban unconstitutional.
Now, the allowing of same-sex marriage is expected to bring millions of dollars into North Carolina. The Williams Institute at UCLA predicts 9,100 same-sex couples would get married in our state within the first 3 years. That would lead to $64 million in wedding arrangements as well as tourism to the state and local economy. $41 million of that would happen in the first year alone. The Institute also says same-sex marriage would create more than 600 jobs. And you can find complete coverage of today's historic ruling on our website, WNCN.com. There, you'll find video of the first same-sex marriage ceremony performed in Wake County. It's under our top stories section.